There's an old story about a monk who spent 40 years training his mind. One day, a young disciple found him sitting perfectly still, watching a river. "Master, what are you doing?" "I'm watching my thoughts pass by," the monk said, "like leaves on the water of this river." "And what happens when a thought pulls you in?" The monk smiled and answered, "Then I remember, I'm not the river, I'm the one sitting on the bench." Most of us never sit on the bench. We fall into the water at birth and we never climb out. We become so fused with the current that we forget there was ever a shore. You know the feeling? A thought arrives unannounced, uninvited, and within seconds you're not thinking it anymore. You are it. The anger that flashes when someone cuts you off in traffic. The spiral at 3 a.m. that replays a conversation. The voice that tells you again that you're not doing enough, not becoming enough, not fast enough in your own evolution. You try to change, you set the intentions, "I'm going to change that, I'll be different next time." But when the moment comes, you react the same way, again, and afterward comes the familiar feeling, frustration, then guilt. You ask yourself, why do I keep doing this? The same patterns, the same character showing up in every relationship, every conflict, wearing a different face but speaking the same lines. Why does it feel like you're at war with your own mind? And why does the war never end, no matter how many times you win a single battle? Maybe the problem was never the thought. Maybe the problem is that you never learned there was a difference between the thought and you. In the 17th century, René Descartes tried to answer a single question. Is there anything I can know with absolute certainty? He arrived at a sentence that would echo since then: I think, therefore I am. However, Descartes fused thinking with being, as if the act of thought were proof of identity, as if the voice in your head were you. He found the ego, he mistook it for the self. 3 centuries later, Jean-Paul Sartre pointed at the crack in that idea. He argued, the consciousness that says I am is not the same consciousness that thinks. The moment you notice you're thinking, that noticing is not part of the thought. It's a different dimension of awareness entirely. A thought never knows it is a thought. You do. This is the seed of an idea explored by writers and teachers across traditions, Eckhart Tolle among them. Tolle describes something most human beings cannot stop thinking, not for a minute. The mind runs continuously, compulsively, and because everyone suffers from it, we've mistaken the noise for normal. And Tolle asks a question so simple it almost slips past you. Who notices that your mind is loud? Because the instant you say, my mind is racing, something extraordinary has already happened. There is the racing mind, and there is someone who perceived that it was racing. If those two things were identical, the sentence itself would be impossible. You cannot observe a wall from inside the wall. The very fact that you noticed proves you are standing somewhere else. Picture it this way: you're sitting in a movie theater watching a film of your own life, the last 24 hours replayed on the screen in front of you. You're not in the scene anymore, you're in the audience. What's the first image that appears? What moment makes you flinch? What character were you playing? The victim, the hero, the one who always has to be right. This is what some call the witness, not a judge or a critic, just a presence that watches without flinching, without needing the scene to be different than it was. The mind asks, what should I do? How should I react? The witness asks something else entirely. Why did this bother me? What part of me got touched? The mind interrogates the world. The witness interrogates itself. Turn it on and you start to see things you couldn't see from inside the current. How you acted versus how you reacted, the exaggerated responses, the patterns you keep living. You start to notice your own beliefs, your emotional backdrop, the quiet cycle where interpretation turns into action before you ever choose it. The witness doesn't judge any of it, it just brings clarity to who you actually are. And the strange mechanics of it are this: the more you use it, the sharper it gets, the better it becomes at catching you before self-sabotage takes the wheel. But it only works if it's trained, not just in the hard moments, but as a daily ritual, on waking, in meditation, in the quiet minute before sleep. The witness is the part of you that doesn't identify with the distorted stories your ego tells, the dramatized version where you're always the victim, always judging or always right. And the side effect is that once you learn to read yourself this clearly, you start reading everyone else more clearly too. The moment you realize you are not your thoughts, you realize you were never actually trapped, you just forgot there was a door. You can step back and watch the mind instead of drowning in it. You can see clearly what conditioned you to think the way you think. The same reaction to the same kind of comment, the same story you tell yourself every time something goes wrong, the same character you play when you feel small. None of that was ever you, it was a pattern, and patterns can only run unnoticed. The instant you see one, really see it from outside it, it starts to lose its automatic grip. This is where change actually begins, not in the resolution to be different, not in the willpower to think more positively. It begins in the quiet act of watching your own motivations, your own repetitions, from the seat of someone who is no longer inside the scene. From there, you're not asking the mind for permission anymore. You're not under the rule of whatever thought happens to pass through today. You're the one who decides which thoughts get to stay. Picture the sky. Thoughts are the clouds. They gather, they darken, they pass, they disappear, but the sky never does, and the sky was never at the mercy of the weather. It was only watching it. Part of the evolution you've been chasing might only require this, the willingness to sit on the bench, watch the water, and finally remember you were never the current. You were always the one who could choose to step out of it. Let this reflection stay with you long after this video ends.
If this reflection resonated with you, like and subscribe to The Arise. New reflections await.